All right, let's jump right in. What if you could bring back Kate Moss from 1995 for a brand new campaign? Or, have Cindy Crawford walk a virtual runway today? This isn't science fiction anymore. AI is making it totally possible to resurrect fashion icons as, well, digital ghosts. But this brings up a really fascinating and, frankly, kind of unsettling question. Just because we can bring back the past, does that mean we should?
So, to really get what's at stake here, we have to remember the era we're actually talking about. And this quote, this isn't an exaggeration. It's from a real magazine feature detailing a famous actress's daily diet. Just think about that for a second. It was a time of just relentless body scrutiny, all pushed on us under the guise of health and wellness.
Okay, so this whole media landscape with all its toxicity, that's the archive. That's the raw data that an AI would be trained on to recreate these icons. So the big question we have to ask today is, why are we so eager to resurrect a past that, let's be honest, did so much damage? And is it even possible to do it without repeating its worst mistakes? To figure that out, we've got to be brutally honest about what that legacy actually is. Before we can even touch on the future of this tech, we really need to confront the reality of the past that it's built on. Now, what's so wild about this quote? It isn't from some historian. It's from a Reddit user just remembering how these magazines made them feel. Back then, the media would literally zoom in on a single body part, like Mariah Carey's incredibly strong legs, and call it a flaw. It was a masterclass in manufacturing insecurity. And it didn't stop there, not by a long shot. They turned completely normal human biology into this gotcha game. Those spot the cellulite pages were in everything, basically teaching a whole generation that a perfectly normal part of their body was something to be hunted down and destroyed. This quote from that same Reddit thread just sums up the impossible standard perfectly. The line between being shamed for being too big and being shamed for being too thin was razor thin. It was an impossible game. There was just no way for women to win. And this is the real human cost. This wasn't just some heartless celebrity gossip. It had real, deep, lasting consequences. We're talking about a cultural and ethical minefield that any company training an AI on these archives is walking right into. It's not just data, it's a legacy of harm. Okay, so let's get into the tech. How is any of this even possible? We need to shift gears from the past to the present and really understand the technology that's making this all a reality. The term you're going to hear is digital twin, and in the world of fashion, it's way more than just a deepfake. A true digital twin, as industry experts explain it, tries to capture a person's entire presence. It's not just their look, it's a whole package of data that includes the rights to use it and, crucially, the rules for how it can be used. Now, not all digital twins are created equal. You can think of them on a spectrum of risk. On the safe end, you have a simple lookalike, a new face that just kind of reminds you of an era. Then you step up to an authorized likeness, made with full permission. It gets more complex with a full performance twin, which captures voice and movement. But way over on the high-risk end, that's the archive-driven twin, the one trained on old footage where consent is a huge, murky question mark. So why is this all blowing up right now? Well, the big shift is that AI has gotten so good it can make a person's identity consistent and repeatable. A model's unique look, their vibe, their entire market presence, it can all now be treated just like a piece of software. It can be saved, updated with a version number, and rolled out whenever you want. So here's the crucial point. This technology puts the whole industry at a crossroads. We have a choice to make about how we use these incredibly powerful new tools. Are we going to use them to preserve a legacy or just to extract value from it? And this just illustrates the two paths so perfectly. Preservation is when a model or their family is actively involved. They give permission, they set clear limits, and they get paid. The person is treated as the asset. But extraction, that's the total opposite. That's when a company just scrapes public images and cashes in on a likeness without any consent, treating a person's life's work as nothing more than raw material to be mined. This brings us to a super important concept from a recent academic paper, digital authenticity. It's all about building trust. It means making sure that any digital recreation is accurate, it's credible, and it has a clear, transparent origin story, like who made it, with what data, and whose permission did they have. And this is really the core question, isn't it? I mean, when we preserve a historic building, we have all these rigorous standards to make sure it's done authentically and respectfully. So why on earth would we treat a human being's identity and life's work with any less care? A person's legacy is a form of cultural heritage. All right, let's build on that. If we choose the path of preservation, what does that actually look like? Well, a whole new set of rules, both business rules and tech rules, is starting to emerge to manage this new kind of identity.
First up, the business models have to change. Instead of just a one-time fee, we're seeing stuff that looks a lot more like software licensing. So a brand might license a twin for one specific campaign or pay a premium for exclusive use for a whole season. This makes sure the model or their estate gets compensated fairly and on an ongoing basis.
But, contracts alone are not enough. The technology itself needs to have guardrails built in. Think of it like this. Access controls are the keys to the car. Audit logs are the GPS tracker, showing everywhere it's been. Digital watermarks prove it's the real deal and not a fake. And maybe most importantly, you need guardrails to keep it from going off-road into weird territory, and a big red off switch to just shut it all down in an instant. The number one rule that all the responsible platforms are adopting is incredibly simple. No authorization, no twin. Period. Consent has to be the absolute, non-negotiable foundation for all of this.
So, as we start to wrap this up, we kind of come full circle. We have this amazing technology that lets us reach into the past and pull these iconic figures into our present. But how we do it is going to define our entire digital future.
At the end of the day, the technology itself is neutral. The value or the damage really comes from our intention. A digital twin could be this powerful creative tool to honor an aesthetic, to extend a legacy, or it can become a cheap content mill, just endlessly churning out synthetic images that devalue the very person it's supposed to represent. And this really gets to the bottom line for the whole industry. In this mad dash to build the most powerful AI, the real winner isn't going to be the company with the most data. It's going to be the one that builds the most transparent and rock-solid layer of trust with creators and their families. And that leaves us with one last question to think about. As our lives get more and more digital, what's going to matter more? The power to generate an infinite legacy? Or the careful, hard work of earning the trust of the very people whose legacies we hold in our hands? The choice is ours.